Okay, so we need to continue questioning the sister.
It looks like this woman is single, but she has feelings for someone.
Eyes brimming with tears. Betty and Donald.
She is looking so intensely at this photo. But is it really a sister that she's studying in this manner?
What did Betty plan to do with her evening? Well, she probably planned to meet someone. She used to go out a great deal. Okay, let's stick with this for now.
They made the perfect couple, am I correct?
Yes, in a way. She was pretty and he...
Well?
He's a bright man, with a promising career ahead of him. He would have made Betty a good husband. He was always attentive and generous. Oh, a true gentleman.
I hear a note of envy in your voice.
You must have heard wrong.
If Donald was in love with Betty or if he was jealous.
You have not mentioned Donald's jealousy.
There's nothing to say.
I am not your enemy, Mademoiselle Bernard.
And you are not my friend either, Mr. Poirot, sir.
Yes, but your lies are not helping Mr. Fraser, or you for that matter. This case is much more complex than you think. It would appear that your sister's murder is the second in a series that we have to stop as quickly as possible. The first was in Andover, and the same as your sister, the murderer sent me a letter informing me that a crime would be committed in that town. Now can I count on your honesty?
Yes, you have my confidence, Mr. Poirot.
Thank
Don
you.
is a quiet and sensitive young man. Slightly reserved too, and as is often the case with reserved people, when he flew into a temper, he completely lost control. He could be so violent. Betty was frightened.
And when was this?
The first time was about a year ago, but they rowed more recently. Donald found out that Betty had lied to him. She said she was going out with a girlfriend, but she went out for dinner with a married man. It was an awful scene. She told him that until they were married, she was free to go with whoever she pleased. Donald turned quite pale and started shaking and kept saying one day...
Well?
He'd commit murder.
You look
So
like
you were afraid that he would become our main suspect. I know that Fraser was jealous, but I wonder why you feel the need to protect him.
Exactly. Had you not told me about the case, I would never have dared to tell you about this little matter. Don loved Betty with all his heart. I can't imagine for one instant that he would hurt her.
Very good, Mademoiselle Bernard. Thank you for your help.
Fraser is
Hello,
at the Ginger
Hastings.
Cat. The police haven't spoken to him, but they want to.
Très bien, Hastings. Let's see him now. Au revoir, mademoiselle. My deepest condolences to your parents.
Of course, Mr. Poirot. And don't be too hard on Don. He's more fragile than he looks.
If you say so.
We're gonna
Let us
be
now try
careful
and
with
get
him.
our brain cells to work.
He used to go out a great deal. Betty lied to Donald, and she was seeing other men. She had a date with another man. Did Betty know her assailant? Is this the one? No. This one. Man seduced Betty.
Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
Again? What is Megan Barnard's behavior hiding? Well, she's fairly obviously in love with Donald Fraser. So... There! Megan has a soft spot for Donald. Megan may not have a motive for killing her sister. She loved her sister. That's not... And she's intelligent, so she wouldn't do that. Oh. Megan was jealous of Betty. Thank you. Did Donald have a motive for Betty's murder? Well, kind of. But I don't think he... Or I know he did. There we go. Yeah, jealousy. Plus Donald have an alibi. Well, there is that. Okay, so that's the clue that I'm missing. Okay, let's go talk to Dawn.
You've seen Fraser, Hastings. What is your feeling?
He's a big chap. Fragile isn't exactly the word that springs to mind. I talked to his landlady before seeing him. She went to bed at 11. Fraser wasn't home yet.
Bien. Megan Barnard said he is a reserved character but with a nasty temper. We will see if this is the case.
Yep. Let's see if we can rattle him a little. Because that's always fun. Hello.
Hastings looks ill at ease. He really doesn't like Fraser.
Yeah, well, Hastings is prone to jumping to conclusions. So, let's just talk to him.
How do you do, Mr. Fraser?
You Hercule Poirot. Mr. Hastings said you wanted to speak to me.
Yes. I know that it may not be at the right time, but I would like to ask you a few questions. This man looks suspicious.
Oh, you think so? White Horse Whiskey. Come on. Crumpled clothes.
Leave me alone.
Sorry. I'm trying to get at your stubble. And dark
Donald
circles.
Fraser is in a terrible state. as if he hadn't slept all night. And he's drinking White Horse.
Leave me alone.
No, I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Tell me that it's a mistake. That Betty isn't dead.
Well, she is.
Sadly, your lady friend has been murdered, Mr. Fraser.
Oh, Betty, if only you'd listened.
Did you see
visit
her?
Betty yesterday afternoon?
No, I haven't seen Betty for 2 days. I was at the office yesterday afternoon.
Can you prove that?
Of course. But why this question? Betty died yesterday evening, didn't she?
Betty was murdered during the night, but that does not prove that she did not meet a murderer earlier in the day.
So, am I a suspect?
Everybody close to Betty is a suspect, Mr. Fraser. I would be a very poor detective if I did not examine all possible eventualities. Do you know what Betty's plans were yesterday evening?
She said she was having dinner with her sister.
Why did you believe her?
Believed her?
And why not, sir? She was my fiance.
That did not stop her from lying to you before. Betty was not a bad girl, but she did like to take advantage of her success with men.
How dare you sully her memory?
There is a killer.
I am not interested in memories of her, Mr. Fraser. I am looking for a killer, and I need you to be my closest ally. That is, unless you have something to hide.
Of course I don't.
Très bien.
Thank you.
So, what were we saying? Where were you yesterday evening?
I looked everywhere for her, but in vain. When she said she was going to have dinner with her sister on a weekday, I thought it was strange. I tried not to think about it, but I was like a lion in a cage. I was convinced she was lying.
Well, she was.
So I went round all the restaurants in the town. When I didn't find her, I went to the next town. But nothing. I must have got home about midnight or 1 o'clock.
Did anybody see you?
I don't think so. I didn't talk to anybody. I was so furious.
Well, that's understandable. I would be too.
Ah, I knew I'd find you here, Poirot. I thought the victim's
Jeff,
young
you're
man was
late.
here.
Yes, is all yours, Chief Inspector. Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
Does Donald have an alibi? Nope, he doesn't. Does Donald have a motive for all the murders? No. No, he does not. Return to the crime scenes. And I got achievements. White Horse Whiskey. Return to the crime scenes. Both of them?
Fraser doesn't have an alibi and he's extremely jealous.
You are very skilled at summing up.
And yet you haven't asked Japp to arrest him.
It is too soon. But I agree, without the letters announcing the crimes, Fraser would already be behind bars. Bon, I think we have enough elements. Let's reconstruct the events at the scene of the crime.
I can't imagine how the murderer wasn't seen, though. Surely she must have struggled.
Let us try and imagine the scene.
Alright, let's see if I can remember
The killer
this.
and the victim are walking on the beach. Miss Betty has a bag, a belt around her waist, and carries her shoes in her hand. Both of them walk slowly to hut number 5.
No. But number 6.
Both of them walk slowly to hut number 6.
Betty changes because her bag and
Miss
her
Betty enters
shoes
the hut.
was left in the hut.
She leaves without her belongings. Then she hides a code.
You need to go
They
further.
keep walking. Then she removes her belt.
The murderer moves behind her and then attacks her by surprise. The body falls, lifeless, on the sand.
Everything appears to match the crime scene, mon cher Hastings. That is exactly what happened.
Yeah. She never saw it coming.
Without the ABC, we might have suspected Mr. Asher and Mr. Fraser. But by signing his crimes, the murderer is making sure he's accused. In a way, it is very generous of him.
Generous? The murderer seduced Betty in order to lure her to the beach and kill her.
Indeed, the young woman was certainly careless, but not stupid enough to follow a stranger.
What are you planning to do, Poirot?
Return to London, mon cher Hastings.
We're going back. Really? Okay. Back to London it is, and wait for the next letter.
Right, back to London. There is nothing more for us to do here.
If you say so.